Hey! For today's webinar, I will be discussing Google Page Experience. Just for a brief introduction, my name is Jessie, and I am the Marketing Director here at Chiro Hosting. I will be your presenter for today's webinar. So I thought it would be nice to start with a question. How much global search traffic do you think that Google gets? I'll give you a minute to think about it and come up with your answers. I've divided it into desktop and mobile. So go ahead and get those guesses in your head. And the answers are 76% of desktop traffic globally goes through Google and 86% of mobile. This is huge. This is a large search volume, and the vast majority of people are using this search giant, which means the vast majority of your patients are likely using Google to find chiropractic services in their area. So that means it's really important to rank high in Google. And by rank high, I mean rank on the first page or the top 10 search results. Because anything after page 1 or top 10 tends to lose traffic dramatically. So page 2, page 3. So you really want to make sure you get on the first page of Google for whatever search term that your patients are looking for. And when you're thinking about ranking, Google factors in content first. Content is king, as they say. But when it comes to chiropractors, a lot of chiropractors have the same content. And so then the deal breaker, or the tiebreaker, would be page experience, which is something that Google factors in as well to its search results, close behind content. So if your content is pretty similar to another chiropractor's site, but your page experience is better, you are going to rank higher. So you need to make sure that your website is optimized for page experience to ensure the best possibility of getting a high ranking in Google. So with that said, what is Google Page Experience? Well, Google defines page experience as a set of signals that measure how users perceive the experience of interacting with the web page beyond its pure information value. It includes core web vitals, which is a set of metrics that measure real-world user experience for loading performance, interactivity, and visual stability of the page. Google Page Experience has 5 signals that it's broken out to. So we are going to look at those 5 signals in today's webinar. We're going to see what each one is, if there's any opportunities for improvement, and how they can impact the user experience. So let's go ahead and look at those 5 signals. The first signal we're looking at is the core web vitals, which is actually a subset of 3 components. So as you can see here, the core web vitals are made up of loading, the largest contentful paint, LCP, interactivity, first input delay, FID, and visual stability, cumulative layout shift, CLS. So let's take a look at each one of those. The largest contentful paint, LCP, is all about page load speed. So if you go to a website and it doesn't load fast, it's pretty frustrating. So you want to check your website and see how fast it loads. You can actually use the Google Page Speed Insights tool, and that will give you an analysis and a breakdown of how fast your website loads on mobile and desktop, and give you any recommendations to improve load speed. But if your site is loading slow, you're going to want to make changes to help it load faster, whether it's removing extra code, reducing file sizes, getting rid of Flash. There's a myriad of things that will help improve page speed. And if you use the page speed tool, Google will help give you some of those recommendations because it really varies site by site. but you don't want your site to load slowly. The slower it loads, the more Google will ding you for search results. The next one is the first input delay. So this is about interactivity. So a site might be fully loaded and you can see a page, but you might not be able to click on anything. You might not be able to click on a button. You might not be able to click on play for a video or navigate the menu, which is not great. So you want to make sure that your site is interactive really quickly after it loads, and you want it to load quickly. So if it is not interactive in a short period of time, you're going to want to improve on that, or Google will ding you. And the last one is the cumulative layout shift. This is our third and final core web vital. And this has to do with visual stability. So this would mean like if you were on a website and you were scrolling and something moved kind of weird, like the text kind of went off to the side, or you couldn't see it all, or an image got smushed, just where anything doesn't visually look right, like as you're scrolling or going through a site. And Google can give you a score for this as well, with the page speed and insights. But you want to look at that and kind of see, and you can audit your site to see if things are moving kind of funky. And if they are, you want to fix them. It's probably due to visual component dimensions, some type of font rendering, or maybe a third-party ad or widget. But you need to make sure that you correct those issues, or, once again, Google will ding you when it comes to search results. So the second signal is mobile friendly. This one is pretty standard today, and most websites are mobile friendly. But if you have an older site that you haven't revisited in years, it might not be mobile friendly. And some new sites, depending on the themes or designs that are used, are not mobile friendly. So you can see if your site is mobile friendly by using the Google Mobile Friendly Test tool to see where you stand. And if your website is struggling, and if it's not mobile friendly at all, one of the easiest and best things you can do is to make your website responsive. And there are a lot of responsive designs. Most of the big website providers have responsive designs. It's almost the standard now. But you just want to make sure your website is responsive. Also, less is more when it comes to making a website mobile friendly. So that means content on a page. So not huge blocks of text or a lot of images. You want to have it clean and airy with white space. So a user can easily navigate a design and not overwhelm them or inundate them with clutter. And if you have Flash, this is a big one. A lot of sites have gotten rid of it, but if for some reason there's still Flash on your site, get rid of it. It's not mobile friendly. It's not compatible with iOS or Android. And finally, the fifth pointer for making your site more mobile friendly is getting rid of intrusive interstitials. And we will actually talk about this later because it is actually the fifth signal. So more on that to come. The third signal is safe browsing. So Google defines safe browsing as the page doesn't contain malicious content like malware or social engineering type of content. And so what this means, if you have downloadable files or assets, sometimes they could be hacked or corrupted, and they might actually become malicious even if they weren't originally. Or you could be hacked to have something installed on your site. And then deceptive social engineering content is kind of like phishing. It would be like if a website were asking for your mother's maiden name, your social security number, like things like that you really shouldn't be asking for. That could be flagged as social engineering, which is not good, and Google will ding you. We recommend running a security issues report from the Google Search Console. This to tell you if you have any safe browsing issues to correct, if Google detects anything that seems social engineering-like, or any malware on your site. And it can also alert you if your site has been hacked. So this is a report we recommend running regularly, just to kind of keep a health check on the security of your site. And the fourth signal is HTTPS. HTTPS stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure. It's an internet protocol, a communication protocol that protects the integrity and confidentiality of data between the user's computer and the site. So this protocol is the one that Google wants you to follow. If you don't follow HTTPS, you will be dinged in the search results. So you just want to make sure your site is HTTPS. To see how secure your site is, or to see if your site is HTTPS, you can open up a Chrome browser, and then you can open up a page or a tab in that browser. And then at the top left of the browser, next to the URL or the domain, you will see a little icon, and that icon's either going to be a gray padlock, a gray circle with an eye, or a red triangle. And so if it's the padlock, that means your site is secure. That is a good one to see. If it is the little gray circle, it means there's information, something to update, or it's not secure. And if it is a red triangle, that is really bad, and it means it's coming off to Google as your site is not secure or dangerous. So if you want to see the details behind why Google thinks it's secure, not secure, or dangerous, just click on the little icon, and it will actually open up Google's breakdown. So if your site is struggling with being secure, the first thing you can do is migrate from HTTP to HTTPS. The next thing is to get a certificate from a certificate authority. And right now, the standard is a robust certificate of 2048-bit key. So that's the one you'd want to get, not a lesser certificate. You can use server-side 301 redirects. And then one thing you can also do is make sure your HTTPS pages are crawlable by Google. You want to make sure they're indexed and accessible. And the final thing Google recommends you do is to support HTTP Strict Transport Security, HSTS. And the fifth and final signal is no intrusive interstitials. So an intrusive interstitial is something that makes content hard to access on mobile devices. And I have a few examples of what that looks like here. The first one is a pop-up form that blocks the page. So like on a mobile phone, you might not have much real estate. So if it's blocking the content behind it, it's a no-go, and Google will ding you for it. And the next one is even bigger than a pop-up form. It's like a splash screen, which really just blocks all of the content where you can't even see it behind this screen or this splash screen or huge pop-up form. And that's a no-go, because if you're looking for an article on neck pain, but you get a promotional offer and you can't even see the article, Google's going to ding you because your user is not going to have a good experience. And the last one is the it's like when your banner or your layout, so it's not really a pop-up form or a splash screen, but it's like your layout is where your banner is so big that it's not showing the content below. So you actually have to scroll to see what the content of the page is. So if you have a big banner, that's a no-go if you have to scroll to get to the content. One good note, though, is not all interstitials are intrusive. So I'm going to give you a couple examples of what Google views as like a functional interstitial and something they won't ding you for. So one of those is the like cookies pop-up form. So even though it's blocking the content behind it, it is functional and saying, do you want to accept cookies, or we use cookies on this site? So Google won't ding you for that. The next one is like a whole splash screen or something that blocks all of the content behind it for age verification. So if your website requires age verification, Google won't ding you for having a big splash screen that asks the user to verify their age. And the final one is for landing page layout. You can have a layout with a big banner, but the banner just needs to show the content, the start of the content below it above the fold so you don't have to scroll. That's okay. It's just when the banner doesn't show any content that's a problem. And with that said, that is the fifth and final signal. So if you can improve any of those components of the signals, you will improve your page experience, which will help you rank better in Google, which will equal more phone calls and more patients in the door. So thank you so much for your time today. And we'd love to offer you a free 20-minute discovery call to review your website and see how it stacks up for Google page experience. Feel free to reach out to us at support@chirohosting.com if you'd like to take advantage of that. Thanks.